Okay, welcome everybody to this Tuesday PhD support group meeting. I'm Lenin Liebenberg and I am very happy to be hosting you today. Today, we'll be discussing all things time management, how to manage our time well enough to produce and to meet our goals, and also still lead a happy and well-rounded life. And I nominated a speaker today so very well qualified, absolutely qualified to lead this discussion. So Prof. Desh Archery is a senior scientist at CAPRISA and an honorary associate professor at UKZN. Desh seems to be doing 10 million things all the time. She's always focused, she's doing it well, and she does it with a smile on her face, whether it be for work or whether it be for family or planning for work or planning for family or fun. When she's moving, she's prepared. And I know Desh as a super focused and super planner and someone who always gets things done. So I thought it would be a good idea to invite her, to grab hold of her, or rather schedule some time in her day so that she can share her wisdom with us today. So Prof. Archery, welcome to this Tuesday PhD support group meeting. You'll find that we are a very wonderful bunch of curious professionals, a very engaging group. We'll be putting our questions in the chat box if we have any. We'll be using our reaction icons just to show any sort of support or disagreement or agreement or whatever our feelings are during the presentation. And we'll happily engage in any discussion after your presentation as well, all in a very wonderful, casual, supportive environment and atmosphere. I'll be sitting here listening, taking furious notes, because goodness knows I need this. I need a special session on time management. So give me all of your experience in this 1 hour, please, please, please. Welcome, Prof. Archery. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I'll hand over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Lenin, for your Professor Liebenberg, for your very kind and a detailed introduction of me. I appreciate it. Not all of it, I feel, is true all of the time, but we will get through what makes us successful and how we manage our time towards success. So I just want to start off with the first slide. I mean, a lot of our brains look like this on the inside, like there's no order and there's almost, no productivity, and we feel like we are not productive. But I'm going to talk you through on how to be mindful of time management and how to effectively manage your time. And there are different skill sets that we can develop. And if I go to the next slide, making a 36-hour wristwatch for any particular purpose, or removing clocks and calendars to solve your time management issues is not going to work. So no matter how much of time you have, or whether you try to prolong your task, it's never going to be enough time. So you have to be disciplined about time, because time does march on, and you need certain tools in order to manage your time. So please feel free to stop me at any time if you need me to explain anything further. So what we'll basically cover in this presentation, which I hope to be very casual, is an introduction to time management, detecting difficulties in managing your time, procrastination being one of the biggest culprits in our lives for stealing away time that we could otherwise use effectively, and strategies to prevent that procrastination, planning your time, goal setting, and to-do lists. Because we always say, oh, I wish I had more time. I wish I had more time. But you know what? You can make your time work for you if you're strategic. So I just want to say that, yes, time is what we need, but we need to manage it. And it should be common sense, right? So what is all this time management about? Time management is using the time available to you effectively in order to get the task done. So Winston Churchill actually said, let our advanced worrying become advanced thinking and planning. How many of you in your PhD time have this big gray cloud hanging over you? And the only thing you can think about at that point in time is, oh my God, how am I going to get through this? How am I going to get through this? So you only worry about how you're going to get through this, but you don't develop any tasks or system to get through it. And a lot of the time passes where you're almost paralyzed in between and betwixt worlds. You're almost like, I'm worried about this. I want to start, but I can't start. So basically, to achieve your inner potential, how do you do this? You have to analyze your time. And by analyzing your time, if you go back to your school days, you had a school timetable, right? And in that timetable, you had a preset time on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for either maths, biology, English, Afrikaans, etc. So similarly, your day should be managed on a very timetable-like process. But there's strategic ways about analyzing your time and devoting your time. And we're going to go through that process. So the important thing is when you're allocating time and you're doing it strategically, you're keeping your focus intact. So what am I doing? I'm setting my goals on this particular subject in order to achieve my goal. And I'm scheduling. I am being deliberate about scheduling my time. And I think that's the most important thing. If you're not deliberate about something, you end up and you don't insist on yourself making a commitment around scheduling, you become basically very stressed out. And the more stressed out you become, the less likely you are to start the task. So let me go through 12 common time management mistakes. And we are all guilty of this until we understand better. So one of them is not planning your projects. And part of planning your projects means that you must be strategic about it. Not having a to-do list. Every single day, both Lenin and myself have written to-do lists. Whether it's a written to-do list in our diary, our virtual diary, I've got sticky notes all over my desk. I stick them and I reward myself at the end by ticking off when I have accomplished it. So the other thing is you're not delegating. I think when you're in a position higher up, and depending on your personality, the ability to delegate becomes a bit challenging because you were so used to, during your PhD and postdoctoral periods, you were so used to organizing and getting all of your own stuff done. Suddenly, when you reach the position of being slightly more senior, when you've become almost like an intermediary between a postdoc and an emerging career scientist, asking other people who you think are suited to do tasks may come as a secondary nature to you. But eventually you do learn you can't do everything. And I think part of that process helps you to also develop and nurture another person. And from that you get reward. So if you're not delegating when you are in an upper position, and I don't mean this in terms of hierarchy, I mean this in terms of independence, you might end up being in a time management crunch. Being a yes person. So I will teach you some techniques on triaging, how to triage saying yes versus saying absolutely not. This is not my area. I can't do this. I could have said that to Lenin, but that would be cruel because I think in terms of doing this lecture, all of us have some sort of wisdom and experience going through time management that we can impart. So I thought, food for my soul, helping somebody else overcome their difficulties with time management, I can do this because it's rewarding for me. As Lenin said, if I get through one person. So being obsessed with the hours spent rather than the work done. So if you are a by clock person and you look at your watch and say, oh, I started at 8, I'm finishing at 4, but you haven't accomplished anything, that makes no sense. You can't spend your hours whiling away, worrying about something and not starting. Taking care of the small stuff first. And this is where I said you need to be strategic. What I do is I take the more difficult tasks and I break them down first. My reward is when I get through the difficult tasks. But we'll go through that as well. Not taking it one job at a time. So you're not focusing, you're not dividing it into smaller tasks. You're just taking everything on and you're lost in this abyss of everything to do at one time. And that becomes an issue for procrastinators. Skipping breaks. You know, I think you use taking a break as a reward rather than a work evasion or a task evasion strategy. Not revising your strategy. So, you know, all too often we say the definition of insanity is doing something over and over again and expecting a different result. So if you're not getting results, what should you do? You should revise your strategy. Not setting goals. If you don't set goals, it's just like you learn in GCP. If it's not written down, it hasn't been done. So if you're not writing down and setting down your goals, you might as well just close the book and leave it one side. Because if you don't set your goals, what happens is it still is this formidable, big monster that you can't tackle. Using technology for the sake of it. So if I'm on WhatsApp, I'm looking up YouTube videos on how to do my eyelashes. I'm looking up YouTube videos on cooking or anything to evade my work task. I'm using technology for the sake of it and managing time and not results. So if you are not result driven from the time allocation, that becomes an issue. So what is procrastination? Okay, you can see this poor girl. The longer you wait, the worse it gets. Maybe I should have started sooner. All of us say that. So procrastination, as you know, steals your time. You're putting off a task which you should be doing. So for example, you wake up in the morning, you get ready to come to university or go to work. You get to work, you haven't got your to-do list. I think I need a break. Okay, I'll go and get coffee. I see my friends, I have a chat. And then 40 minutes later, you still haven't started. So there's a nice YouTube video clip that you can watch, and it's called The Tale of Mere Existence. And it shows you how procrastination can eat into what should be productive time. But I'm not going to go through this video now. So I just want to show you some clips, and this is where it becomes very interesting. So the one cartoon clip says, hey, I see you joined Instagram. The student says, yep, I'm officially an Instagram. I'm posting daily snapshots of my daily life, and it's of ramen noodles. This guy says it's all of pictures of ramen. He says I'm a lifestyle influencer. So that's evasion. Another procrastination technique. You do cleaning up, you do everything else that's unimportant, and then your PhD or your training time falls by the wayside. So don't think 3 years or 2 years of doing masters or PhD is a long time. You know, you have to factor in for the unexpected. And this is where it's very important to understand the sequence of events that make you productive. We move on to the next slide. So why do we procrastinate? Tasks are too unpleasant to face. Yes, we understand that. They seem difficult or very tedious all at once. They're boring, or you're just distracted and your attention's pulled away. But you can also find out why we are the way we are. I'm going to show you a video now. It's actually quite interesting. And now we're having a particular issue with the digital age, with the accessibility to information instantly. So anything you discuss on the corridor, in your coffee breaks that are you're not deserving of the reward of having a coffee break. You'll go on and you'll use every evasionary tactic to prevent yourself from getting started. So the smartphones, you need to be disciplined in how you use your smartphone. If you are trying to tackle a task, put your smartphone away, put it on silent, allow it not to creep into your focus time. So that's one of the techniques that I use. I'm never always on my phone. I use my phone for my emergencies. If there are emergency messages coming through, I will be able to see it because I put a special ping on my message. So part of the reason people procrastinate is that they are not good decision makers. For example, what delineates you from a professor? Like a professor's decisive. They understand they have to make decisions. They do their emails in decisions in 1.3 seconds. Whereas a graduate student will take 1.3 days on average to craft an email message to their professor regarding their paper or their progress on their project, etc. So the one thing about procrastination and how to evade it is to be decisive. Decisive about your action, decisive about your focus, decisive about your strategy and how you're going to achieve your result. So I'm just going to show you this video now. It's quite fun.
Dish, I think you'll need to unmute. The sound is coming from your speaker.
Sorry. Do you want me to restart?
And I would want to do that like that.
Sure.
That would be the plan. I would.
Sorry, guys, I didn't realize.
Ready to go. Civil.
Oh dear.
That's okay. It happens all the time. So we'll just reshare your screen and you can press play again.
Oh dear. I do apologize. This shouldn't be part of time management.
Working well under pressure is also part of it.
Okay, let me just post this on the screen. Can you see it?
I'm looking at your Zoom, sorry, the launcher, not the PowerPoint. Now your PowerPoint is on
college.
Yeah, there we go.
I was a government
screen,
which means I had to write a lot of papers. Now, when a normal student writes a paper, they might spread the work out a little like this. So, you get started maybe a little slowly, but you get enough done in the first week that with some heavier days later on, everything gets done and things stay civil. And I would want to do that like that. That would be the plan. I would have it all ready to go, but then actually the paper would come along and then I would kind of do this. And that would happen every single paper. But then came my 90-page senior thesis, a paper you're supposed to spend a year on. I knew for a paper like that, my normal workflow was not an option. It was way too big a project. So I planned things out and I decided I kind of had to go something like this. This is how the year would go. So I'd start off light and I'd bump it up in the middle months. And then at the end, I would kick it up into high gears, just a little staircase. How hard can it be? Just walk up the stairs. No big deal, right? But then funniest thing happened. Those first few months, they came and went and I couldn't quite do stuff. So we had an awesome new revised plan. And then those middle months actually went by and I didn't really write words. And so we were here. And then 2 months turned into 1 month, which turned into 2 weeks. And one day I woke up with 3 days until the deadline, still not having written a word. And so I did the only thing I could. I wrote 90 pages over 72 hours, pulling not one, but 2 all-nighters. Humans are not supposed to pull 2 all-nighters. Sprinted across campus, dove in slow motion, and got it in just at the deadline. I thought that was the end of everything. But a week later, I get a call. And it's the school. And they say, "Is this Tim Urban?" And I say, "Yeah." And they say, "We need to talk about your thesis." And I say, "Okay." And they say, "It's the best one we've ever seen." That did not happen. It was a very, very bad thesis. I just wanted to enjoy that one moment when all of you thought, "This guy is amazing." No, it was very, very bad. Anyway, today I'm a writer, blogger guy. I write the blog Wait But Why. And a couple of years ago, I decided to write about procrastination. My behavior has always perplexed the non-procrastinators around me, and I wanted to explain to the non-procrastinators of the world what goes on in the heads of procrastinators and why we are the way we are. Now, I had a hypothesis that the brains of procrastinators were actually different than the brains of other people. And to test this, I found an MRI lab that actually let me scan both my brain and the brain of a proven non-procrastinator. And so I could compare them. And I actually brought them here to show you today. And I want you to take a look carefully to see if you can notice a difference. And I know that if you're not a trained brain expert, it's not that obvious, but just take a look, okay? So here's the brain of a non-procrastinator. Now, here's my brain. There is a difference. Both brains have a rational decision maker in them, but the procrastinator's brain also has an instant gratification monkey. Now, what does this mean for the procrastinator? Well, it means everything's fine until this happens. So the rational decision maker will make the rational decision to do something productive, but the monkey doesn't like that plan. So he actually takes the wheel and he says, "Actually, let's read the entire Wikipedia page of the Nancy Kerrigan-Tanya Harding scandal because I just remembered that happened." Then we're going to go over to the fridge. We're going to see if there's anything new in there since 10 minutes ago. After that, we're going to go on a YouTube spiral that starts with videos of Richard Feynman talking about magnets and ends much, much later with us watching interviews with Justin Bieber's mom. All of that's going to take a while, so we're not going to really have room on the schedule for any work today. Sorry. Now, what is going on here? The instant gratification monkey does not seem like a guy you want behind the wheel. He lives entirely in the present moment. He has no memory of the past, no knowledge of the future, and he only cares about 2 things, easy and fun. Now, in the animal world, that works fine. If you're a dog and you spend your whole life doing nothing other than easy and fun things, you're a huge success. And to the monkey, humans are just another animal species. He has to keep well slept, well fed, and propagating into the next generation, which in tribal times might have worked okay. But if you haven't noticed, now we're not in tribal times. We're in an advanced civilization, and the monkey does not know what that is, which is why we have another guy in our brain, the rational decision maker, who gives us the ability to do things no other animal can do. We can visualize the future. We can see the big picture. We can make long-term plans. And he wants to take all of that into account. And he wants to just have us do whatever makes sense to be doing right now. Now, sometimes it makes sense to be doing things that are easy and fun, like when you're having dinner or going to bed or enjoying well-earned leisure time. That's why there's an overlap. Sometimes they agree. But other times, it makes much more sense to be doing things that are harder and less pleasant for the sake of the big picture. And that's when we have a conflict. And for the procrastinator, that conflict tends to end a certain way every time, leaving him spending a lot of time in this orange zone, an easy and fun place that's entirely out of the make sense circle. I call it the dark playground. Now, the dark playground is a place that all of you procrastinators out there know very well. It's where leisure activities happen at times when leisure activities are not supposed to be happening. The fun you have in the dark playground isn't actually fun because it's completely unearned and the air is filled with guilt, dread, anxiety, self-hatred, all those good procrastinator feelings. And the question is, in this situation with the monkey behind the wheel, how does the procrastinator ever get himself over here to this blue zone, a less pleasant place, but where really important things happen? Well, turns out that the procrastinator has a guardian angel, someone who's always looking down on him and watching over him in his darkest moments, someone called the panic monster. Now, the panic monster is dormant most of the time, but he suddenly wakes up anytime a deadline gets too close or there's danger of public embarrassment, a career disaster, or some other scary consequence. And importantly, he's the only thing that the monkey is terrified of. Now, he became very relevant in my life pretty recently because the people of TED reached out to me about 6 months ago and invited me to do a TED Talk. Now, of course, I said yes. It's always been a dream of mine to have done a TED Talk in the past. But in the middle of all this excitement, the rational decision maker seemed to have something else in his mind. He was saying, "Are we clear on what we just accepted? Do we get what's going to be now happening one day in the future? We need to sit down and work on this right now." And the monkey said, "Totally agree, but also let's just open Google Earth and let's zoom into the bottom of India, like 200 feet above the ground, and we're going to scroll up 2.5 hours till we get to the top of the country so we can get a better feel for India." So that's what we did that day. As 6 months turned into 4, and then 2, and then 1, the people of TED decided to release the speakers. And I opened up the website, and there was my face staring right back at me, and guess who woke up? So the panic monster starts losing his mind, and a few seconds later, the whole system's in mayhem. And the monkey, remember, he's terrified of the panic monster. Boom, he's up the tree. And finally, the rational decision maker can take the wheel and I can start working on the talk. Now, the panic monster explains all kinds of pretty insane procrastinator behavior, like how someone like me could spend 2 weeks unable to start the opening sentence of a paper and then miraculously find the unbelievable work ethic to stay up all night and write 8 pages. And this entire situation with the 3 characters, this is the procrastinator's system. It's not pretty, but in the end, it works. And this is what I decided to write about on the blog just a couple of years ago. Now, when I did, I was amazed by the response. Literally thousands of emails came in from all different kinds of people from all over the world doing all different kinds of things. These were people who were nurses and bankers and painters and engineers and lots of PhD students. And they were all writing saying the same thing. I have this problem too. But what struck me was the contrast between the light tone of the post and the heaviness of these emails. These people were writing with intense frustration about what procrastination had done to their lives, about what this monkey had done to them. And I thought about this and I said, if the procrastinator system works, then what's going on? Why are all these people in such a dark place? Well, it turns out that there's 2 kinds of procrastination. Everything I've talked about today, the examples I've given, they all have deadlines. And when there's deadlines, the effects of procrastination are contained to the short term because the panic monster gets involved. But there's a second kind of procrastination that happens in situations when there is no deadline. So if you want to have a career where you want to be a self-starter, something in the arts, something entrepreneurial, there's no deadlines on those things at first because nothing's happening at first, not until you've gone out and done the hard work to get some momentum, to get things going. There's also all kinds of important things outside of your career that don't involve any deadlines, like seeing your family or exercising and taking care of your health, working on your relationship or getting out of a relationship that isn't working. Now, if procrastinator's only mechanism of doing these hard things is the panic monster, that's a problem because in all of these non-deadline situations, the panic monster doesn't show up. He has nothing to wake up for. So the effects of procrastination, they're not contained. They just extend outward forever. And it's this long-term kind of procrastination that's much less visible and much less talked about than the funnier short-term deadline-based kind. It's usually suffered quietly and privately, and it can be the source of a huge amount of long-term unhappiness and regrets. And I thought, that's why these people are emailing, and that's why they're in such a bad place. It's not that they're cramming for some project. It's that long-term procrastination has made them feel like a spectator at times in their own lives. The frustration was not that they couldn't achieve their dreams, it's that they weren't even able to start chasing them. So I read these emails and I had a little bit of an epiphany that I don't think non-procrastinators exist. That's right. I think all of you are procrastinators. Now, you might not all be a mess, like some of us. And some of you may have a healthy relationship with deadlines. But remember, the monkey's sneakiest trick is when the deadlines aren't there. Now, I want to show you one last thing. I call this a life calendar. That's one box for every week of a 90-year life. That's not that many boxes, especially since we've already used a bunch of those. So I think we need to all take a long, hard look at that calendar. And we need to think about what we're really procrastinating on, because everyone is procrastinating on something in life. We need to stay aware of the instant gratification monkey. That's a job for all of us. And because there's not that many boxes on there, it's a job that should probably start today. Well, maybe not today, but sometime soon. Thank you.
Right, guys, I'm going to try to successfully change my screen to full screen. Normal.
That was a fantastic video.
I know. I had to scour through the internet. I did it like 3 weeks ago. I was scouring the internet just to mention time management. I was scouring the internet 3 weeks ago, and I went through hundreds of videos to try and find something that would have broad appeal, Lynn, I'm just going to press on this icon here to see slideshow. Hopefully.
Yeah, so you can just swap your displays as you did before.
Right, I'm going to swap it now for you.
Here we go.
Sorry about that, guys. It wasn't intentional. So basically, this guy went through everything that I wanted to explain to you, but repetition is the mother of learning, and if we want to learn to overcome procrastination, I have a few things that you can do. So one of the things is take action, write it down on paper, do a mind map, do a map of how you're going to tackle this formidable task. Another way to do it is salami slicing, or the salami technique. You spend 5 minutes on the salami technique. Your strategy is to work on related tasks. When you work on related tasks, what happens is you tend to feel more rewarded, because as you're reading the fields, they're related, and then you can start putting different things into different subspecialty categories. Do the hardest bits first, because that is going to be your stumbling block. If you get through the hardest bits first, doing the easy things are like child's play. Set goals, make commitments. And when I say make commitments to yourself, because you deserve to feel good about what you're doing. Reward yourself for the achievement and change your subjects regularly. If you feel that it's becoming tedious or boring, switch gear, go and take a short break and say, okay, according to my timetable, I was supposed to spend X minutes on this. It's not very interesting to me. Let me switch gear a bit on a related topic and I will get back. So that's your strategy going forward. So, we have to deal with these strategies in detail, unfortunately. So I'm just going to go through the salami technique, making commitments to yourself and rewarding yourself. So the salami technique basically is taking your tasks and basically slicing them. So you take down, for example, the introduction of a thesis or a literature review of the thesis. You start off with the big problem, and then you break it down bit by bit what is relevant to your research and your research area. So you start off with disease pathogenesis, for example, the global prevalence of it. You bring it down to your area specific that you're studying, and what are the factors involved in this predisposition to a particular disease, right? I make it sound easy. It's not that easy, but you have to work through it in order to achieve this goal. And this is really effective. So when you bite off small chunks, what you do, even for a very big and difficult task, you eventually start putting the picture together, and it becomes easier for you to assimilate the information together. So the Salami technique, for example, I'm just going to provide you. You first analyze the question for your hypothesis or for your data, then you brainstorm your response. From here, you make an outline of your answer. Then you write it down section by section, and there's a method to doing it section by section. Each section has to have a theme or a result that you want to explain, for example. Lastly, what you can do is you can review and edit your answers. So what you've done is that you've taken this large, insurmountable task, broken it down into little bite-sized pieces, and then you managed to assimilate what was seemingly insurmountable into a document that you can work with. So you have to take it in bite-sized chunks. You can't do all of it at once, because doing all of it at once is completely counterproductive to you achieving something that is logical, and actually something that you can be proud of. So you want to be proud of your output at the end of the day. So reward yourself by being strategic in how you're tackling your issues to begin with. Then making commitments. So what research has found is that students work best given a tight deadline or project. I mean, the procrastination video alone shows you, if you have a deadline, you're likely to work toward it. But if you don't have a deadline, you're likely just to say, oh, whatever, whenever. Or if your deadline is so far away from your current timeline, it becomes very difficult for you to start. And then you just start postponing the inevitable, right? So if you're working on a large piece, give yourself deadlines to cover different topics within a subject, and give yourself specific dates to do this. I have a calendar behind me, and I know I've got a written calendar on my desk. I've got a calendar behind me. It reminds me of the big things. So I have to look at the big calendar to show me days that I've blocked up. My small calendar reconciles what I need to do day by day and time by time. So this will make sure you keep track of all the material that you need to assimilate and cover within a period of time. That's basically, that's your guide, that's your benchmark, okay? You're making a commitment to yourself. You're not making a commitment to anybody else. Your commitment to yourself is, I don't want to be stressed. Your commitment to yourself is, I want to give up my best, and I want to show that I can do, seemingly difficult tasks and accomplish them. So reward yourself. Don't feel afraid. Once you've put that beautiful big red tick or pink, I've got colored pens. I've got pink, I've got green, I've got blue, I've got green, purple. And once I've rewarded myself, I tick off the task, and then I go and have a cup of coffee, and I know my deadline. My coffee break would be about 10 minutes, and then Len knows. I'll say, Len, I have to get back to my office because I have X, Y, and Z to do. So don't go and think you're going to reward yourself for doing nothing, because you'll end up feeling more horrible about yourself. So have this predetermined reward. Okay, at the end of the day, if I really do well and accomplish my goals, I'm going to go for a massage or for a pedicure or a manicure. Take 2 hours off. Do it because you've accomplished your goals. So predetermine what your rewards are. Don't reward yourself for nothing. Okay, so 12 most effective time management principles. Determine what is urgent. Do not overcommit. And this is where don't say yes to everything. Have a plan for your time. Allow time for the unexpected. Handle things once. When I say handle things once, what you do is you look, you triage, and you decide what is important and what is not important. Create realistic deadlines. You're not going to be writing your literature review within a week. Okay, so set yourself realistic goals and deadlines. Set goals for yourself and your time. Develop your routines. Focus on one thing at a time. Eliminate your distractions, right? So your smartphones, put it away on silent, put it on do not disturb, or put it on airplane mode. Outsource tasks or delegate. If you cannot do something on your own, you're not proficient at it, ask for help. And leave time for fun and play. I can't tell you how important it is to have downtime in order to be refreshed and to recuperate from the task that you've been handling. So there's a decision matrix. It's called the Eisenhower decision matrix. And it determines how you triage urgent from not urgent. So you have 4 blocks. What is urgent and important? Do it now. What is not urgent but important, you decide and you schedule a time to do it. What is not important but urgent, you can actually delegate and you can find somebody suitable who will be able to help you along the way. If it's not urgent, not relevant, not important, say no, delete, okay? So this is the matrix that I use now. And I'm becoming more comfortable at saying no to certain things if I know I'm not going to have the time, or if I say yes, I'm going to do a really shoddy job at it. So you have to, what's the trade-off? Doing a shoddy job or saying, or accepting your limitations outright and saying, this is not my area, I cannot contribute, I feel it would be better suited if it is given to somebody else, right? So delegate and delete can overlap each other. So what tools do we have, guys? We have lots of tools. Oh my gosh, we have manual diaries, electronic calendars, phone apps, email reminders, Zoom call, team call reminders. But what we also need to do, I would strongly suggest, and Lenine also is in favor of this, and I'm using this for example, when Lenine and I used to go to gym, because we formed a buddy club and a WhatsApp group, we were more likely to pitch up at gym and fulfill our training time, even though our day may have been horrible. But because you've got a buddy who you are, on a parallel journey with, so choose somebody that you get on well with, that you can face off in terms of all of your milestones and your deliverables that you need to accomplish within, your PhD time, because that way you're accountable to a peer, other than your supervisor, other than your co-supervisor. You are actually accountable. So you've got different things that you can use: WhatsApp, Teams, Zoom. You can use all of these different modalities in order for you to accomplish your goals. And I think peer support, especially in this age, COVID, etc., it becomes hugely important. And your friends also provide a general kind of good competitive playground for you, because they'll also say, hey guys, it's time. Doesn't matter. Okay, I need to catch up on X, Y, and Z. You've shown me, how far you are, and I'm going to try and catch up to you. But you also can say, hey, let's just take a break. So you have support in that as well. So you feel you've earned your reward with your friends, go out and have a break, right? All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. So lastly, 10 final time management tips. Keep your time in check. Take breaks in between. Plan in advance. Set correct goals. Organize your tasks. Eliminate distractions. Avoid multitasking. And I understand our personal lives creep into this, but this is where routine comes in. So you develop a routine so that your multitasking is accounted for during your day. Meditate and exercise. Take deep breaths. Rome was not built in a day. You have to digest things bit by bit. prioritize your tasks. And this is where strategy comes in, and delegate. And there is a video, but I think this video is a bit long. How many minutes do we have for a time management?
We have about another 10 minutes.
15 minutes. We can start watching it, but if there's anything you'd like for me to explain, I think most of it is self-explanatory. I think if you, form groups of peer support and you account to yourself more than anything else, you'll avoid the feeling of being, bogged down in this abyss of never starting. So peer group support, I think for me as well, during my PhD time was very important. And I still use peer group support. I mean, Lenine and I, she was telling me, oh, your lectures in 3 weeks' time. So that kind of reminder and also support from your friends is so important. That collegiality is something that supports you through your years of PhD, post-PhD, and into your early careers. So don't underestimate the power of peer support. We can try and play this video, Len. I'm going to see how long it is.
You can also share the link if you'd like.
Huh?
You can also share the link if you'd also like, Tish.
I will share the link. You guys watch this guy. He made a living out of time management. He's posted blogs about, now he's living the life. He's a millionaire, self-made millionaire, who's an entrepreneur, and he made his life out of showing people how to manage their time. So there's a career option as well for those who are interested. Okay, so I think we have.
So over the past 10 years.
So I'll share the link. There is some stuff in the chat.
Yeah.
Can you see them? I can't actually see them.
One of the comments, well, besides the congratulations on a wonderful presentation, was actually from me, agreeing with you about the yes person issue. Now, I have problems sometimes being a yes person because I want this benefit of the task or the opportunity that's presented to me. I mean, for example, it's wonderful to be able to present or share knowledge within a particular research format, but sometimes your time commitments are not able to support that sort of benefit. And that's just something that I grapple with. So I'm really glad that you mentioned it and ways to get around it. Another thing that I did want to mention is that Tim Urban video was so amazing. I so resonated with that. I'm a super procrastinator. I am very good friends with my instant gratification monkey. The guy's name is Pete. I mean, I know the panic monster very, very well. And you know, Gish, when you get up and say, right, my 10-minute coffee break is up, I get up with you so that I can get back into it. So, I mean, I just wanted to emphasize how important it is to have a peer support group to hold you accountable to what it is you said you wanted to do, or to fit in the time during the day to do what it is that you said you wanted to do, which is why I really wanted you on this platform, because I've seen you do it so nicely. So thank you so much for sharing your tips with us today.
No problem, Len. I think for us as well, you know, life happens. You've got commitments with your family, you've got commitments with work, you've got commitments for after work activities. So all of it has to seemingly fit together, but you have to be organized. You have to learn to say no to certain things, and you have to also be definitive about what you're capable of doing that's not going to take away from your central focus. And I think if it's something that's diluting your focus and taking away from your time that you could otherwise spend doing something that's you're going to feel rewarded for, don't do it, right? Don't do it. Mm-hmm. But as I said, you know, you have to also look at your rewards contextually. For me, initially it was time management. I said, oh my word, am I even the best person to ask about time management? And then I thought, what is it that I can give back, and also an opportunity for me to learn better on how to manage time. Yeah, so I've been doing the 10-minute coffee break thing and walking away. I know I have to go now, Len. I've got work to do before this lecture. But now I've learned more so than ever that saying no is actually not a negative thing. It's actually showing your strength, where you understand what your limitations are, and the fact that you need to focus on what is going to get you to point X, Y, and Z for the future. So I think, guys, timetables, your to-do lists, your peer support groups, all of those things that Lenine mentioned. And Lenine manages her time pretty well, by the way. She's just so hard. She's so hard on herself. And we have to also pick our battles with ourselves and learn to forgive ourselves for any transgressions that we may have along the way, because we do get busy.
Dish, do you mind if I ask a question about something? I mean, you mentioned how important it is to eliminate distractions. I totally agree with that. But sometimes that can be very difficult to do, I guess, effectively, when your task is involving, let's say, researching the internet for something. You know, you have to be involved online, and somehow you find yourself immersed in a, like Tim Urban was saying, in a totally unrelated wiki page, and then you're clicking on links to entertainment sites, and soon you're on the couch watching Netflix. You know, how do you avoid that?
I think you need to paste something on your as a reminder. Is this bringing you joy toward your reward? You know, is this going to be rewarding for you? Is this going to be result driven? A little bit of the internet is okay when you're off topic, but a lot of it becomes counterproductive. And I think you have to know what makes you feel uncomfortable. You know, if I'm wasting time, I am feeling uncomfortable and unworthy. So you don't want to be in that place. You want to be in the place where you want to show that you are earning a reward for yourself, that you've made a commitment to yourself. Because remember, your PhD is your baby. It's not your supervisor's baby. Your supervisor can get all the papers published, but if you don't assimilate and make up that thesis, dissertation, and the 3 manuscripts that go with it, your supervisors publish the papers. If you don't get to it, you know, it's not your supervisor's problem. It's actually your baby. Your supervisor's long gone. She's had her done a PhD, postdoc, etc. So you need to actually make a commitment, because a PhD is a marriage. You know, for 3 years, you have this thing that you take from concept and you manifest it into this working piece of knowledge that is going to be circulated around the world. So you need to take that on and say, this is a work in progress, and I'm going to accomplish it bit by bit, and my supervisor is going to help me along the way. Your supervisor will give back to you as much as you give them, right? She will commit to you as much as you commit to it. So don't be afraid of approaching your supervisor. Don't be afraid of telling her, like, I've got a nice student, Namusa, she's fantastic. She comes to me and she says, Dr. Archery, my gray cloud is getting bigger. And then we sit down and we discuss it. And then I teach her about managing and biting off a few chunks. So Lenine, I think maybe for the PhD course, you know, we can do something almost focused toward the PhD students on how to handle seemingly big tasks. You know?
I think that's a fantastic idea. Thank you for
volunteering. I'm not doing it.
And also, as you discussing, I think another important session might be on improving focus, yes, so that you can actually get the most out of your time.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, there may be like a recipe to improving your focus, especially if you're doing like a thesis or your literature review, etc. So there is a recipe for that. I mean, we can circulate documents regarding that. No problem.
Oh, sure. Circulate to me as well.
No, I'll let you circulate the documents. No problem. And you can do the presentation.
Let's see if she's saying no now. salami slicing technique that you mentioned, I think is really important and useful, especially when writing, for example, a literature review. And I think the having somebody hold you accountable to the little bits of pieces that you are writing is also very important. So perhaps have that person be your supervisor, have it be a colleague who's doing something similar. So while you're busy writing a small paragraph of your literature review, arrange a date with them so that, I mean, for them to review it, so then they will hold you accountable. You've got a little deadline there to work towards. I like that one. I think it resonates well with me and my team.
Absolutely, and even your papers, you use exactly the same method of triaging. You know, you do the same thing. It's exactly the same process. Actually, for all of the things that you need to accomplish in your day, you're constantly saying, you're waiting in your brain, what is more important? But seemingly being on the internet with no timeline, be disciplined about your phone. I'm very disciplined.
There it is. We need a special session on discipline. And we've got a comment in the chat. So Rita is saying that your comment about, am I feeling uncomfortable and unworthy in what I'm doing, is really a good question to ask when you're wondering if you're going off course. So taking a moment and reevaluating what you're doing in that moment is really worthwhile. So that, I think that was really good advice.
Yeah. You know, I think the most important thing is that you need to feel happy with your end product as well. And did I put my best foot forward? And if you've just given it a glib overview and there's no real substance and detail, you're not going to be proud of your effort, you know?
Yeah, in fact, you'll probably come home at the end of the night and be upset at just how much you actually got done, and think about this. Oh yes, that's happened to me a lot.
And then you feel it's counterproductive to you being productive, right? Completely counterproductive, because you start undermining and, you know, undermining yourself for future tasks. So the best thing to do is sit down, prioritize, allocate your time, be strategic. Be strategic about what gets you to where you need to get to. And a lot comes with, you know, your self-incentivized rewarding, and to show you, oh, and your buddy system. Yeah, I can't explain how important it is to have that peer group support system.
Absolutely. So, I mean, there haven't been any further questions in the chat, but I could actually feel people nodding along with what you were saying. Oh, that's happened to me. Let's take a look at that video again on the UKZN YouTube website.
No, so, and the Tim Urban one was the one I resonated with the most. And I think, and I'm not I have been a procrastinator, but now I've learned discipline, and I haven't completely lost my procrastinator side of my personality. It's there sometimes, but also sometimes you remind yourself, I need a break. You know, I need to just tune off a bit and refresh and come back and restart. So press Control Alt Delete.
Fantastic advice. Thank you so much, Prof. Archie. Thank you for spending some time with us today and discussing effective time management. I've got an entire page worth of notes here. Thank you so much. And for those who'd like to re-look at Desh's tips here, the sessions will be available next week on the UKZN YouTube website. The PhD support group meeting will be going on a bit of a break for July, and we'll reconvene on the 2nd of August. It's a Tuesday, of course, with the SSS team joining us again, and we'll be discussing you, me, and we. This is about relationships and addressing gender-based violence and how this affects our productivity as well. So thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Thank you, Prof. Archie, again for being involved with us. And we look forward to seeing you in other sessions going forward.
Thanks, Lenine. I must say, I got a lot of reward from doing this. And I hope I've shared some things that seemingly look, difficult to do, but you find that you can do it at the end of the day. So please go ahead and manage your time. And I hope all of you are successful in whatever you do.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Take care. Everybody, we'll see you next week. Bye.
Thanks, Prof. Bye-bye, Prof.
Bye. Bye.